All right. Good day. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Live the Fuel show. I'm extra sparky and short and fun because we are really crushing out as many podcasts as I can here at the first week of March because I leave for 2 weeks for our Howley skiing / snowcat skiing / backcountry, whatever you want to call it, wedding adventures in Canada. But this episode specifically is tagged back to a prior episode that we just aired this month with none other than the sports psychologist herself, Dr. Megan Cannon. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to dive into this episode.
Well, I'm excited because last episode we didn't really prepare for it, but we've kind of had a game plan on this whole pre-race prep stuff we were talking about, like the mental state, your game planning, whether it's connecting on swimming or CrossFit or what others. Did we throw any other sports into that episode?
It's just swimming, a little bit of cycling, a little bit
FYI,
mountain biking.
Oh, yes, because I do have an upcoming mountain biking commitment now. We're going to talk more about this in episode. Actually, so yes, coming out of that episode, and actually, if I look at my tracking, that episode should be episode 261. So it's actually, that because I just aired, as you and I are recording here tonight, I just aired 258 this week. So that episode's going to air in the next week and a half. So this is good. So anyway, just if you're hearing this episode, go listen to episode 261 because there's some good stuff there. Now, I don't normally tie together actual numbers because sometimes it doesn't work out that well. But hey, when you're busy, you just got to roll with it.
Just got to do you.
That's it. Now, after 2.5 years of podcasting, I just roll with it. So you and I hit on a number of things in the last episode. I just tossed in there randomly about my new commitment to do the Wilderness 101, which is a 101-mile mountain bike race here in Central PA coming up in July 2019. I learned about you in the last episode, even though you and I have been talking forever, it seems like, that I didn't realize you were so hardcore integrated into the swimming sport community at the high school and the collegiate level. And let's see what else kind of popped up. Oh, you start briefly towards the episode of 261 at the end. You kind of threw an Ironman and the mental state and all that. And I tossed out there a name by the name of Iron Cowboy, a.k.a. men's athlete James Lawrence, who competed in 50 Ironmans, completed them one per day.
Wait.
Did you hear that?
Wait. I was already like, oh my gosh, this is really impressive.
What?
Wait.
Yeah.
Like 50 days in a row.
Boom.
I do not even understand how that's possible.
And now you know why I waited for this episode to see how you respond.
Because I'm like, oh, okay, so this guy that throughout his life has acquired and accrued 50 Ironmans. So you mean to tell me that for a month and a half straight, a month and a half, almost 2 months straight, every single waking day, this man somehow did an Ironman triathlon, woke up and did it again 50 times.
Not done yet. 50 states. Yeah.
How do you even logistically do that? And how, because you're working.
Makes you feel any better? I just learned about this dude today.
You have you have to be going from east to west. You have to, because when you go west to east, you're losing time. How do you, first of all, I just have so many questions for this person.
Right?
How do you even logistically...
Video screen share right now for the YouTube feed, right there.
What?
IronCowboy.co. I just gave you something to study up on because you're going to love this guy. I just learned about him on a podcast today. By the way, this little animated sunglasses, bearded face, that's his branded logo on Instagram and stuff. I think the dude lives in Utah. Yeah, he just decided one day to commit to doing 50 Ironmans, one per day, back to back, starting in Hawaii and Alaska to get those out of the way, and then boom, lower 48 with 4 kids and his wife in a camper caravan across the lower 48. Who's your new hero? I'm like, what? What? Yeah.
Okay, so they drove. So that at
Well,
least
lower
that answers
48. The lower
that
48.
answers some of my questions of like, okay, how are you like logistically doing the flights and then like TSA? Okay, so they drove, but that's a whole other different like Ragnarian challenge of.
This is beyond Ragnar because you and
But
I
like
both
just
have
in the
done Ragnars.
sleeping
This is
in
beyond
the
Ragnar.
oh, this is
Like you and I got
beyond.
nothing.
This
Like
is beyond an ultra Ragnar. This is just insane.
exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Real quick for the newer listeners, a Ragnar is a 200-mile relay race where you set up a super fun team of 12 athletes and you do 200 miles as a relay over a 24-hour period. I did it back in, it's either 2010 or 2011. I forget what with my firefighting team. And we did not do the ultra. We did 12 people. And then Dr. Megan just did this in 2018 at Niagara Falls. And you guys also did the 12-person team, right?
Yep, I did Niagara this year. I did Pennsylvania last year. I did Boston to Cape Cod the year before, and then tried the trail one this year up in Ontario also.
There you go. See?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, that is nothing near 50 Ironmans in 50 days across 50 states.
And real quick, what is an Ironman? Do you know all the details?
Yeah, you can go through it because I don't know the exact mileage, but that's why I'm like just. Yeah. And how do you get? That means
called the 50. It's called the 50-50. Hold on, 50-50 record attempt, right?
Were these like verified races in terms of like they're just having Ironmans?
Oh, he set them up in order to get his schedule. Like some of these actually started like at midnight.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. These weren't actual. Like this was all monitored and like everything. But I mean, yeah, he had to customize this entire commitment, and by the end, I think the final race, he had 3,500 people running next to him, like, because followers, like people.
Well, because that's just one of the most impressive things I've ever heard of. So yeah, if you're gonna go, go do that.
Like, wow. I mean, I'm still digging into this guy's backstory because I literally just listened to the MF CEO, which part of the French stands for motherfucking CEO podcast. And this dude's a very successful blue-collar entrepreneur who's just crushing it. He's like the top entrepreneurial podcast right now. And I never see him talking about fitness. And I see that like in the keywords or whatever, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? And then I read some of the fine print before I hit play on the episode. And I was like, are they talking about 50 Ironmans in 50 days? Like, come on. So I had to listen to the show today while I was traveling. And yeah, I'm not kidding you. The guy pulled it off.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
So back to mental state. This dude talks about it like crazy. So that's why I had to tell you about him. You're going to love him.
I know.
Because it's all about the mental state. Because like even the guy, the host, he's just like, wait a minute. He's like, you mean to tell me you didn't have any kind of major injuries or something? He's like, oh God, yeah. He's like, by the third race. He's like, and then I guess while they were recording, he's sitting in the guy's studio, so James Lawrence, the Iron Cowboy, hands over his iPhone with a photo of his feet, and he shows him how the feet are just jacked by like race 3, and he's like, oh yeah, he's like, you see those little red dots on my skin? Those are the nerve endings. So whatever he was showing him. I'm trying to like, because this is the fun of podcasting, ladies and gentlemen. You're hearing me saying it. So picture me listening to another podcast, Megan, and I'm like picturing a dude's toes or something that has red dots showing through the skin. I'm like, what is he showing him? I'm like, what? Because I've done marathons, I've done half marathons, and I've jacked my feet up. But like, and then he's like, wait a minute. He's like, all your toenails are gone. He's like, oh yeah, those were gone by like race 2 to 3. They just all started falling off. So if you ever lost a toenail, I've lost a couple from skiing, never lost them from running, but I'm like, that's common. But he lost all of his toenails, feet are raw, like, and that's by like race 3, not 50. Yeah. What do you got, Megan?
I am just in awe. I can't wait till he comes on this podcast. Like, listen to it.
Oh, I tweeted him today. I tagged him. I took his quote from that podcast. You'll see it on Instagram, by the way, on Live the Fuel. I posted that today. If you go on there after this podcast, you'll see his bearded thing with a quote in front of it. He said it on that episode, which, by the way, while you and I are talking, I'm going to find that because it's super fun. Actually, this is a great precedent for this episode. So I'm going to go back to screen sharing. Anyway, real quick. Shout out to Dr. Megan. Make sure you follow her at drmegan.com. But I'm going to have to switch over to my feed because I forget the entire I don't want to butcher it because it's a little bit long, but when you say it, you'll get it. And I'm clearly not bringing up my episode, my podcast feed. So there we go. Live the fuel. There we go. All right, stand by. Looks great on YouTube, by the way. So, okay, so I animated it. So let me hit play. So he or she who has their why to live. Well, hold on. Yeah. See, this is why it's so crazy. Hold on, let me play it again. It's a long one. So yeah, he who has their why to live for can bear almost any how. So there we go. Wow. You can't hesitate. You have to like just say it all the way through, right? So yeah, he who has their why to live for. Sorry, that's where I stop. Don't stop short. So he who has their why to live for can bear almost anyhow. And I've talked about, and you and I've talked about on past episodes, the power of your why, right? So,
jeez, if that's not a case in point right there, huh?
Dude. Well,
the poster child for that. Oh my gosh.
Well, part of his underlying why that he dug into, and I'm still digging into this dude. He's got the Jamie Oliver Food Foundation USA that he runs for. So like he's got connections with charities. Yeah, almost 1/4 of 2 to 5 year olds, 1/3 of school children, et cetera, are overweight, obese. He's an advocate for health and wellness. He's his 50, all these 50 things, like they're all to create exposure for charities, raise money, obviously for his family. Like it's just powerful dude. Like I got to get this guy on the show. I'm so excited. So
yeah.
Besides the fact that this dude crushed 50 freaking Ironmans in 50 days. Like one of the Ironmans he talks about on the podcast that he wrecks. Like he's so exhausted. He falls asleep while riding the bike and crashes.
I mean, I'm not surprised that would, I guess, be where you would fall asleep.
Well, like, let's pause on that, right? Like, what's the mental game necessary to even try and fathom 50 Ironmans in 50 days? But then you have to keep in mind here that there's no way he's getting 8 hours of sleep a day.
No.
If the average Ironman is, let's say, 16 hours or less, right? You have drive time. I mean, granted, his family's there. They're shuttling him, blah, blah, blah. But come on, but right?
Yeah. And you drive in a van with 3 other people and see how much sleep you get. You know what I mean? Like, so like even with that time off course, that is just wild. That talking about the same, I feel like this is equal to the same level of like mental fortitude. Have you seen Free Solo yet?
Love Mental Fortitude, by the way. And I've not read that yet.
So one, I am not an Oscar person at all. I'm a big documentary rock climbing like person. Evidently, it did wind up winning the Oscar for documentary, which like
Wait,
I don't
which
know
one was this?
Free Solo, where the guy just climbed up El Cap, the largest like granite wall.
Oh
with
yeah.
Nothing.
It's literally in my queue on. I don't know if it's Hulu or Netflix, whatever.
It is Scott. It is phenomenal. You will be sitting there and your heart will race.
I'm a rock climber, so
yeah, and it's so.
I've never
incredible.
free climbed.
And it is.
I've got all the hardware in the garage. Like I have a harness and everything else. Like I'm not a free climber.
It is so just impressive. And when you're talking, and then so they actually did brain studies on him to see like if his brain is any different than typical like you or I. And his fear center, his amygdala, actually like in the studies they did, took a lot more to make it fire, and it wouldn't fire to typical stimuli that maybe you or I it would.
See, so I think that's developed that way though. Like by the time they did that testing, he had already built that.
He's already exactly,
right.
And they talked just about his perspectives. It was just very interesting hearing just his perspective on like that mental side, but also his perspective on risk. And just different.
That's freaking risk.
Talk about it, right? And so it's just, if for anybody listening, it is absolutely, absolutely incredible. It is so fascinating. Your heart will race watching it, just even though he made it because he's alive to talk about it. But oh my goodness, it was incredible, and it was just so neat listening to him talk. But and talking about like the mental side of it, he in an interview, they didn't talk about this in the documentary, which I thought was kind of interesting, but for the entire week before, I saw an interview with him on Jimmy Kimmel, this is Alex Honnold, the gentleman that climbed, he, for the week beforehand, was basically in solitude. He, you know, he asked his girlfriend to leave, like the film crews like weren't around, but it was just him.
Yeah.
And
he needed to get his head straight. Well, you're about to do one of many most dangerous things ever considered. I mean, there's people who have died on that wall with anchors and with climbing equipment, let alone free climbing. It's crazy.
It's so nuts. But I mean, you know, when you're talking about this gentleman, the Iron Cowboy, that's the only comparable thing in terms of like the mental strength of that. That to me is that's like that type of a level. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, that's just an absolutely incredible.
It actually a great heartfelt thing that ties to this. That you said he talked about the singling himself out, like getting himself into a zen. And hold on, let me take a quick note here because I don't want to forget. What was the name of the documentary again?
Free Solo.
Free Solo. Okay, so just want to tag that because we'll probably end up putting that into like the show title or something because we're talking about I'm throwing in mental fortitude, Iron Cowboy, all that stuff. Anyway, during that podcast I listened to today, and I'm going to tag that in the episode too, by the way, because that way people know what the heck I'm talking about. Because people probably like I don't know what the heck the MF CEO. It was episode 290, by the way, if you want to find that, Megan, because you'll. I have a feeling that I just gave you something you're going to want to listen to.
I think you did. Because my head is just really still trying to wrap around.
And I will tell you, I would start there because that's how I got hooked. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And I was like, what? And then little snippets of the episode, like where he talks about how his youngest child, she because he's still human and he admits it. She's like, you know, Daddy, I don't think you believe in yourself enough. You know, because this is like 2 or 3 races in or whatever. And which is like, I mean, come on, like he's already beat the crap. I mean, you just did 3 Ironmans in 3 days. And this is about that mental fortitude and building it up. And she's like, you know, Dad, she's like, you know, I'm going to be here with you. And as a young child, it's like, he talks about this in that episode. He's like, nowadays, and no offense, because you and I do try and influence the next generation on this show, right? The millennials or the Z Gen or whatever's happening now. Like, guys, life takes hard work. All right. Life takes hard work. And this is another great episode, like not my show. Go listen to MF CEO. Go listen to episode 290 that I found. Listen to what he talks about. He's like, his own small child said, Dad, I'm going to be here every step of the way. Meaning, I forget exactly how he said it, but he said, listen, she's like, I'm going to be here at the starting line at 7 a.m. when you start. And I will be here waiting for you when you finish. So when he crashed his bike and his body was broken and he's laying on the side of the road and he doesn't want to get up, he's like, my daughter's waiting for me at the finish line. So he gets up and gets on his bike and he finishes, right? So it's like, that's the crap, right? That's the shit that hits the fan. And it's like, dude, like that's, I mean, for him, that was him. That's what he needed. He's just like, if she had to put him on point in that way, and that carried through every single event. So great, I'm not a dad, but for that dude, that clearly was a powerful stimuli to anchor him and solidify his fortitude to push through this. Because again, on that episode, he's like, dude, physical is BS. He's like, your body, he's like, trust me, he's like, I could talk to this. He's like, your body continuously reprograms itself and gets stronger and stronger and stronger every single race because you're pushing yourself every new race. He's like, he pushed himself, but you're pushing yourself past any prior limits you already had over and over and over again. And he's like, the one thing that I realized is by race 50, he's like, that was the first race. He's like, and here's the best part, by the way. He actually said the last 20 were his fastest times. Think about that.
You reverse split 50 Ironmans in 50 days on 50 split. Days.
Well, come on, Doc. Why?
Oh my gosh. Well, now you're over that threshold. You're on the downhill slide at that point, man. Like you've done the up. Now you're just.
But dude, 30 back-to-back Ironmans.
Wow.
And he's like, at this point, like, it's like, but he actually talks about how his body has actually ascended or evolved. I think he actually used the word evolved or evolution or something in that. He's just like, dude, he's like, I don't get it. I can't explain it. He's like, I'm not a scientist, but he's like, my body started healing faster. Think about that. He's like, those pictures of his jacked up feet. He's like, my body eventually realized, oh, he's going to do this again tomorrow. I might want to heal this. So yeah, the first few races, he's traumatized, he's injured, he's battered, he's all wrapped up, bandaged, anything else. But he's like, no joke, dude. He's like, as we progressed, he's like, things that used to hurt didn't hurt anymore. Things that were not healing were healing. Crazy.
That's crazy. That is beyond impressive. I'm really looking forward to listening to this podcast.
I know. I was
this one that we're doing too, but also
all day today. Sorry, listeners, you got to hang with us. Like all day today, I'm like, Megan and I are catching up tonight, and I got something new and exciting.
Oh my gosh, that's just wild. That's insane.
Because let's talk about the mental game on that. I mean, I can't. I've been a hot shot. I've run a marathon. I've done 100-mile cycling events. I've done 65-mile in marathon distance, mountain bike racing events in Colorado. And now I just signed up for my first 101-mile one coming up in July. But like, I just collapsed a lung. Like I myself feel pretty good about putting myself through some really good screwed up things. FYI, I did not plan the collapsed lung thing. But, those aside, it's like, I got nothing on this dude. Nothing. Like what? 50 Ironmans.
So wow.
Like as a sports psychologist, where do you go with this?
That is just so impressive. But I mean, I think that just really speaks to, when they talk about the power of the mind and the power to push through pain thresholds and the power of refocusing, the power of your why. I mean, like that. His story just in and of itself and the brief pieces of the podcast that you've shared here. I mean, already it's just like, well, there's the why, there's the pushing through pain. There's okay, I've already done this many. If I've already done 30, 20, big deal. I mean, that's just, there's so many things there, and also imagining as he's gaining a following too, and people are joining him for these races, that's just talk about some positive momentum and just energy that you're going to get also through seeing other people's excitements. Whenever we see other people emote, our brain tries to replicate that. So we get it, that's empathy. And that's where, the positive energy is going to spread, the negative energy is going to spread. And so I can only imagine then, coming around race number 40, and you have this following and maybe you're beat up and tired, but it's like, okay, my daughter, and then, oh my gosh, look at these people that are just here to run the race with me. Cool. All of those things, that's just so powerful and so impressive. So impressive.
I mean, it's kind of hard not to like make this dude your hero.
Yeah, I know. Like, where can I get this t-shirt with him with this beard? Like, you know what I mean? That's just insane.
And real quick for the YouTube feed. So this was the podcast that I found him on. This is the MF CEO project. They titled this episode Redefine Impossible because that's the name of his book. So, and here we go. I just brought it up on Amazon while you were chatting. There we go. Iron Cowboy, James Lawrence, Redefine Impossible. Actually, this book was released back in 2017. So apparently for the past year and a half, 2 years, he's really gained a huge speaking circuit as well, right? Because he's clearly, he broke all records.
Yeah.
I might want to invite him out to speak at an event, just throwing it out there. And this is him. Actually, this is Jamie Oliver, the Food Foundation. So back on his website, Iron Cowboy. So anyway, guys, just want to make sure some screen sharing got out there. Make sure you guys can find him. And I'm going to make sure I add this book into my influencer page on Amazon because I can add books in there. And I'm actually going to make sure, is it Kindle hardcover? Okay, I got to see if this is on Audible because if it's on Audible, this is going to get listened to on my flight out for my wedding. I mean, come on. So if not, I'm going to order it so it comes in time and I'll physically read it, but I prefer Audible. So, but I mean, yeah, I don't want to make the whole episode about this dude, but I'm like, what? Like, come on. Like, Megan's going to love this.
Yeah, no, that's beyond impressive. It's really
like, this is groundbreaking stuff for you. Like, just,
yeah.
I could see you unlocking all other discussion points now just based on this crazy threshold this dude broke through.
Oh yeah, in my mind I'm thinking, oh my gosh, these are really great stories to share with athletes. Like this is just so inspiring, because when you're thinking of some of those endurance athletes, whether it's a running, swimming, situation, cycling, I mean, there is pain that is going to happen as you are competing, practicing. And obviously there's a difference of knowing when your body is hurt versus, the pain of doing that. And so I'm not saying push through the hurt stuff, but there's,
he basically
so
did.
Impressive, of just how your mind makes it.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's why I have to listen to the book or read the book, because I'm with you. I have not always agreed with pushing through the pain, right? Because it could trigger some other problems if you're not listening to your body. But to his point, without digging into his book, he talks about how that pain is just an initial protective mechanism. He's like, the body, he himself can back this up. He's like, the body is more capable of the healing potential than you realize. And he himself tested that, right? Yeah. I mean, if you've got nerve endings exposed, lost toenails, blah, 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 you're wrecking your bike, you're crashed, you're broke on the side of the road. Like, dude, these are all components of, okay, maybe you want to stop and go heal up. Whereas his point was, I made a commitment and I'm not going to give up. And I'm not going to stop, and I'm going to make my body heal, and I'm going to make myself bounce back. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so, that is so cool. What a great story. Like, that's just impressive.
Iron Cowboy, ladies and gentlemen, Iron Cowboy. But I mean, it's this grand. I'm not going to do anything what this guy is doing, but that's like what you and I kind of, a little segue here. Again, full rewind back to when you and I first met at a Starbucks while Brian Strausser of the Strausser Project and I were hanging out doing our very first podcast, learning about the depression that he had gone through and his overcoming, going through weight loss and fitness and everything else. And then on recent episodes, I had him back on and he and I had some adventures over Thanksgiving for charity and in 2018. And he and I just aired a live episode from his garage. So we did like whole exchanging man garages. Like he came over my garage, I went to his garage, and it's just kayaks and bikes everywhere. And but the point was he has committed to return to do the Wilderness 101, and that's a 101-mile mountain bike race out by Penn State main campus. And it's this year will be the 19th year. So it's 2019. It'll be the 19th annual event. And I had never agreed to even think about doing it. I was actually sharing him and promoting him. And then with my stupid little collapsed lung thing, I was like, oh, I need a new goal this year. And since we already took third with a collapsed lung in that CrossFit comp, I feel like I need a new challenge.
I love this, there's like a little collapsed lung situation.
I mean, to be fair, we weren't the RX team. We were scaled,
You're ridiculous. You lived for 3 weeks with a collapsed lung, had a last minute pulled together CrossFit team of, you with half a lung. And,
to be fair, it was only 35% collapsed. So I had one whole lung and a 65% good other lung.
Well, then I expect more out of you, Scott, if you had 165% lungs. Okay.
I really don't know how that numbers works out. I just know that when you go to the doctor finally and they give you the X-ray, and I don't know if you know the girl. Do you know Rochelle at SYR? Do you know all the people there? Anyway,
I'm not sure. I'm so much better with faces than I'm actually.
Well, she's pretty strong, and she's usually the girl there. There's a couple of girls who roll in with the baby strollers and the babies on Saturdays.
Yes.
Okay, so she's the taller one because Tara. Tara's one. Yeah, she runs like the kids program now and everything. Mm-hmm. Okay, the taller one.
Got it. Now I know.
Her boyfriend or husband has a beard.
Yes.
And he usually screams when he works out. Okay, so that dude was there when I got my X-ray. Like, I got my X-ray, and the girl comes out, and she's like, are you in any pain? And I'm like, no, I'm good. What's up? She's like, okay, I need you to wait here. I was like, it's usually not good.
Yeah, that's
because like literally I thought I was going to swing by, get an X-ray. They're going to prove I had a chest cold. And I had plans to go meet you. We're going to do a podcast that night.
Yep.
And then I was going to go meet my friends for dinner. Well, clearly that didn't happen.
Yep.
So that dude walks out of the back room. Like, I didn't know what he did for a profession. I guess he's a PA, a physician assistant. So he walks out, and I look up. I'm like, yo, dude. I give him a pound. And he's got this like straight, serious look on his face. I'm like, all right, what's going on? He's like, how long has this been going on? It's like, I don't know, like 3 weeks. And he's like, didn't you just do our competition, like the Granite Games thing? I'm like, yeah. He's like, with this. I'm like, with what? And he's like, okay. He's like, I need you to take this seriously. Like, I am. Like, what are you talking about? He's like,
I need you to take this seriously.
That's me. And he's like, that's a spontaneous pneumothorax. I'm like, and what does that mean? And like, I'm not a medical professional. Yeah. Like, I know what a thorax is, like, thoracic region. And he's like, you have a collapse, partially. His exact terms were, you have a significantly partially collapsed lung. And I was like, oh, okay. And
so this is not an antibiotic situation here.
Like, so clearly I do not have a chunk of mucus jumping up and down my chest. Gosh. And he was just like, yeah. He's like, I need to call an ambulance. And I'm like, okay, slow your roll.
Guys, come on now.
Really? We're not going to get all dramatic now. Okay, you don't need to be calling an ambulance. Let me get Kristen on the phone, put her on speaker. We'll figure this out. I could take myself to the ER. Clearly, I'm fine. And he's like, again, serious face. He's just like, no, I don't think you understand. Come with me. So he takes me back into the x-ray room, and they have like my images up on the screens. He's like, okay, here's your right lung. I'm like, yep. And he's like, okay, here's your left lung. I'm like, yep. He's like, you see, this is the, I'm like, yeah. He's like, now here's your partially collapsed lung. He's like, you see all this gray area? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you see the gray area below your lung? I'm like, yeah. He's like, that's air. He's like, you have air above and below your lung. That is not allowing your lung to fully inflate. I'm like, well, that would explain why I can't catch my breath sometimes. He's like, yes. And he said, now. I was like, so again, why do we have to call an ambulance? He's like, I was like, I have Chris on the phone now. And I was like, yeah. She's like, this is ridiculous. I was like, I could drive myself. He's like, no. Are either of you trained in, first response care? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, no. I mean, in a traumatic way. He's like, you can't save your own life. And I'm like, probably not. But why would I be risking my life? He's like, well, because your lung could fully collapse. And I'm like, well, it hasn't yet. It's been 3 weeks. I just did a freaking CrossFit comp. I think I'm good.
20 more minutes?
Come on. And he's like, no. He's like, you don't understand. If your lung fully collapses, all that space is now void. He's like, so everything over here could shift. And I was like the heart and the other lung and other organs? And he's like, yeah. He's like, that's why I want to call you an ambulance. And I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, life-threatening, blah, blah, blah.
More receptive to hearing what you need to say now.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
FYI, that led to me passing the hell out that night, too. So,
oh, my gosh.
Apparently, like, I don't know. I mean, I've been through a lot of shit in firefighting, everything else. Like, I thought I was good. And so he tells me all this. And so we proceed away from the x-ray area. I tell Kristen to go have fun and go have dinner with her girlfriends. I'll just catch up with the ER later. Cause I'm like, hey, listen, you're on the way to dinner. I was like, I'm going to be here for a few minutes. We're waiting for the ambulance. By the time they check me in and they give me my little wrist badgy thingy and like, you'll be there by then. So just go have some dinner. So again, I'm just playing it off. And I'm sitting there, and you'll appreciate the mindset thing, people. This is what I'm getting to. So Megan, I'm standing there and I'm like, all right, I'm bored. So I walk out of the little side room, little treatment room they got me in, and I walk out to like the main counter where he's sitting with the other people. I'm like, why don't you just tell me more about all this? Like, what's the worst case, best case, blah, 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 blah. And they're catching me up. He's like, okay. And so we're waiting for the ambulance to arrive. And he starts giving me all the extra details. And I'm like, huh. Okay. Yeah, that sounds pretty serious. Okay. And mind you, I forgot that I had fasted all day. So I hadn't eaten anything. And I was fasting and just hydrating. I was doing one of my detox days. Actually, what I did all day today. So all of a sudden, like I start feeling like weird in the head. And I was like, all right, thanks for that update. I'm just going to go sit down now. So I go back into the side room and sit down. All of a sudden I start feeling like hot flashes and shit. And I'm like, all right, something weird's going on. This can't be right. So I'm shaking my head. I'm just shaking it off. And I'm like, all right, I'm good. So I guess, like, you know what? I'm probably getting a little excited. You know, he just gave me some things, told me some things that are life risking.
Told me some news.
Let me just take some deep breaths. I actually start putting myself through my own breathing exercises. I do yoga and everything else. I figure I got this shit. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of like, I feel my heart rate increasing. I'm like, okay, let me just close my eyes for a second. Boom, down. Just all this. Next thing you know, my head hurts, and like there's 4 people's faces in my face. And I was like, apparently I was sitting on a chair, just sitting there. Like they had like the bed thing that they do your exams on, like next to me. I'm just sitting in like the chair where like your significant other sits.
Yeah.
So I just keeled right the fuck over. Just don't even. I closed my eyes. Boom, down. I thought I was actually just trying to calm myself down. That's it. So
wow.
What's that all about?
Oh my gosh.
You wanted to catch up, so there you go.
Yeah. It's fascinating. And coming from my end, I'm just like, wow, so Scott's okay, he's about to get done. I'm just like waiting. Like, this is really weird. I'm just ask him, see if he's okay. Crickets. This is really bizarre. Like he's and on the way to the hospital. Oh, all right.
On air, I apologize for not sending
it's totally fine. Because I was like, oh my gosh.
I did tell myself to. And then I think the passing out thing probably threw me off for a second. Because then when they brought me to, which was like a split second, the paramedics dudes were just rolling up their gurney thingy.
Wow.
So like, I'm like, I had my phone in my phone was still in my hand. I think I was about to text you and then I passed out.
That is wild. And just in terms of that mental side, it's almost like your brain was just like, oh, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
We're going to probably now start to feel what he probably should have been feeling for these last 3 weeks, but we just didn't know any better.
I don't know. A buddy of mine told me, he's like, that could have been just like sensory overload. And actually my friend said it was probably a little bit of anxiety. Like, I don't really get like hardcore anxiety, but that clearly was probably some hardcore anxiety. I don't know.
Yeah, that's,
I mean, have you seen that in your profession when it comes to athletes and stuff too? Like pre-event, like again, prior episode, we were talking about pre-event prep. Like people can get themselves amped up so bad that you could pass out, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. People pass out, they throw up, they have panic attacks. Brandon Brooks, this is the Eagles territory, man. Like he vomits before every game. And when he initially
that's right. It's
Eagles,
so weird.
Right? Like they had no idea what was wrong with him. He was out for a few games, all of the medical tests, team chaplain in, blessing, all of the things. And here, nothing wrong with him. He was just so stressed out because it was now his job. Didn't want to let Philadelphia down. He's getting paid for this, so he cannot make mistakes, all these things. And so to this day, the guy still throws up before every game, but his mental interpretation of that is not like, oh my gosh, what's happening?
That's become his thing.
It's routine, yeah. And former quarterback.
Which is so not good for your throat, by the way. But
totally not good. Right. And you know what? The University of Miami football coach, or former football coach, told me that when he played with Jim Kelly, very famous quarterback, that he used to throw up before games too. And it got to the point that when Jim Kelly wouldn't throw up, the team started to get nervous because they were worried that he wasn't ready enough.
I love it. I love it. Oh, you can't make this stuff up.
You cannot make this stuff up.
Well, yeah.
Mindset.
Well, so now, like, obviously you saw everything after that. That's why I'm not going to go into the rest of the story. Ladies and gentlemen, I actually aired it on episode 250 anyway. But Megan needed to hear what happened, why I didn't show up for the podcast that night. Because actually I was going to go meet you at your office.
Yeah.
And we were just going to, I think it was like a 6 o'clock. I think we had a 6 o'clock appointment.
Yeah, so it was something like Friday evening, just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, I stopped in at like 4:30, 4:45. Figured I was going to be in and out because they have walk-in services right there. I think I texted you like, hey,
just you're like, I'm down the street from your office.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take your time. Just got here. No rush. Like,
if they hadn't have found all that black airspace, I would have been in and out in like, another 5-10 minutes. I'll be good to go.
Oh my gosh, that black air. Well, I'm glad that they found the black airspace. And so your lung is all fixed now. And just in enough time to do all these fun stuff.
I got 4 new scars down my left side,
Oh my gosh. Do you show your scars off? Are you that person that's like, hey, check out my scars?
I will be at our wedding next week because we have hot tubs at the hotel. So I
Oh
think
my
I might
gosh.
have, I don't know. I might have put that on Instagram. I don't
I
hide
hope so.
anything.
Maybe you can trace and make constellations, and whoever makes the prettiest pattern of your scar, they win. I mean, Scott, there's really a lot of possibilities here.
You just unlocked a whole new thing that I didn't even think
It
about.
did.
I'm like, wow. Um, I mean, because like there's the first chest tube hold scar from the ER. That one was up high, and then they can't reuse. Oh, here's a fun little trivia: they don't recommend reusing chest tube holes, so they always cut a new one. Yeah,
Sure.
let's just add a new one in while
But
we're
hey,
at
you know what?
it.
While we're at it, let's make a cute pattern. Maybe make a
So again,
constellation, a little
they helped.
dipper,
Right.
Orion's belt over here.
Well, 'cause if you reuse a chest tube hole, that really cuts down on the constellation pattern
It
potential.
does. It
I mean,
does.
come on, people. Hello.
I know. That is clearly, that must be why.
Wow. See, I never thought about that until right now. Well, yeah,
And
I
I just
actually
envision you in your mirror later being like, what might this be? And pulling up star patterns of like, are we
actually
Orion's belt here? Are we Taurus? Like,
here we go. This is actually on my personal feed on Instagram. Yeah. So
there you
here
go.
I'm screen sharing for the YouTube watchers. So here I put little color things around it. So here is the first chest tube hole from the ER. This is where they jammed in their video camera and their scraping tool. That's the big one. This is the second chest tube from the surgery. And then I don't know what this one was. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe an extra drain.
Are one of your organs on the black market that we
I don't
know
know.
about?
Well, I mean, to be fair, the kidneys are down lower. I feel like you would need a bigger hole than that. This is
That's
a little
true.
high. But I forgot to ask what this one was, but that was number 4. So, maybe let's threw an extra one in there again for constellation goals.
I know we could like make a dipper situation here. I mean,
Because think about it. If they just had the camera slice and the second chest tube hole and that was it, like you're missing these other 2 options.
You really are missing the full spectrum there. Yeah.
And you notice they were kind enough. I did mention to them that I had tattoos. I was like, could you guys like please work around my artwork? Duty, respect,
Thoughtful of them.
and she really did. Shout out to Dr. Meredith Harrison, a very intelligent woman, and I mean my whole staff was awesome. So the nutrition was crap, but I mean other than that, that's not their fault. That's the broken medical care system. So.
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast.
You see, I told you we're gonna have some fun when we caught up tonight. So
I know, and it's the good story from both ends, and what a fascinating story with this Iron Cowboy gentleman. And you need to go watch Free Solo and let me know after you watch it your thoughts on it, because it's absolutely incredible.
I dropped a hint that we were going to talk a little bit about Wilderness and 101, but I really didn't want to. I really wanted to drop the Iron Cowboy component because, I knew that would blow your mind because it blew my mind. So, and I'm literally, as soon as we get off the phone here, off the Zoom call here tonight, I'm actually ordering his book because I don't see it on Audible. So I'm going to order the hardback and make sure that gets here in time so I could take it because I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks for the wedding.
Yeah, so exciting.
Got to do some reading in my free time because I'm trying to unplug as much as possible while we're up there. So back to mental game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So listen, this was your second episode. 261 was your predecessor to this one. Obviously, again, rewind back to the beginning of this episode. 261, we talked about mental prep, event prep, competition prep. While setting the stage is important, and then we led into obviously how to execute on that. People like crazy old James Lawrence, the Iron Cowboy, and obviously come July I'll have the Wilderness 101. By the way, next time you and I record, if we do it like this, you're gonna see my first road bike set up in here because I have training equipment on the way.
Cool.
I'm gonna set up a trainer in my office for the rest of the winter. Because I got some miles to put on my legs, and it's cold out. So I want to be able to get some indoor training in when I can. So my buddy of mine in Colorado shipped me a whole bunch of gear from his shop. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So, as we always do, how would you like to sum up and close out today's show? Since I got to blow your mind for once.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think we can beat anything outside of the Iron Cowboy's quote of "He who has their why to live for can bear almost anyhow." That I think encompasses not only the pushing through the pain, the power of the mind, the mental preparation, and just the power that giving that attention to mindset and that preparation and that component of things, whether it's pushing through a big business project or making a big decision or pushing through pain at a race or in a practice, if you have identified that why and what am I doing this for, you really can withstand so much more. And it's just the power of that mind and motivation.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely clearly did that. I'm actually sharing once again the post that I put on the actual Instagram feed because, I mean, she just said it. Powerful quote. And I love it because that's why Megan and I geek out so much about the power of mindset. And obviously not just the impact on health and fitness and exercise and competition, but this is just life in general. It's your mindset is so key for a healthy lifestyle, even if you're not a crazy athletic nutball.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, hang tight and give a proper goodbye off the air. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to give Megan her night back because we just recorded 2 back-to-back episodes and it's now 9:40 p.m. here on East Coast. That's how committed she is, and that's how committed I am to bring you guys amazing content here to the online space, to the podcasting space, and yes, the YouTube space. So again, another healthy, clearly fitness-themed, and obviously mindset-balanced, lifestyle-themed podcast episode. A reminder that you too could live the fuel. Get us some updated reviews, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.